Our third speaker for this afternoon is Miss Wan Firzaleenazrah. Wan Firzaleenazrah began writing for television in 2001 as a research writer at media called Eagle Vision. She has written more than 100 television titles spanning multiple genres and was the primary writer for various award-winning programs. She won acclaim for many of her work. Programs that she worked on have also received multiple accolades at Pesta Perdana, including Best Children's Program, Best Info Educational Program, Best Variety, Special Drama, and Most Popular Program. Wan Firzaleenazrah's presentation is entitled Between Realism and Responsibility, Walking the Societal Tightrope. Wan Firzaleenazrah, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to Prof. Chong, Dr. Lim, and friends from Singapore University of Social Sciences, and also to fellow speakers. One and all, thank you so much for spending the afternoon to talk about language and filmmaking and TV making. Thank you for organizing this and allowing me to share something that is that I'm passionate about. Dr. Lim did a little bit of introduction about my journey as a scriptwriter. I would like to also share that I started as a research writer in 2001 and actually learned TV script writing on the job because I was a science graduate with chemistry major. But it is the love for the language that actually spurred me on to take on this new challenge and to actually be a part of MediaCorp Eagle Vision, which is actually a TV production unit under MediaCorp, whereby we write various info ed series, variety series, drama. It is advantageous in that sense where I had the opportunity to dabble in various genres. I'll be talking about realism and responsibility, and I'll be breaking it into three parts. The first part is about the use of Malay language in TV script writing. Second is about reflecting reality, and third is between realism and responsibility, a writer's dilemma. So the context of today's topic focuses on TV script writing specifically, and it is ties in with the Singapore landscape. And the examples that I'll be citing are programs produced by Eagle Vision from the year 2001. So let's kick off. The use of Malay language in TV script writing. Just a little bit of history about TV script writing. It is actually one of the newest genre of writing in Singapore. It started when back then there wasn't any formal institution that teaches script writing. I know most of you are fortunate to have institutions which offer courses and all that formal education on script writing, but back then it began when a production station was established in 1963, but we did not have any local content. So the stories on stage were adapted for the TV screen. So they were either recorded as stage performances or they were recorded in the studio. So, and also producers were roped in to write dramas to become scriptwriters, wear another hat. So one of the earliest academy of TV script writing was Radio Television Singapore when it launched in 1965. And it was later corporatized to in 1980 to become Singapore Broadcasting Corporation. So that was how script writing started, whereby we learned the craft of writing for the camera. So basically my peers and my seniors generally learn the craft on the job. It is the passion of the language and about the passion of telling a story that made us feel that we have a lot more to contribute to the local TV industry. Yeah, so what is the role of TV and the responsibility of a writer, especially for a mainstream channel? It is to entertain, to inform. Some may say to educate, but I would prefer to say as raising awareness. Because why raising awareness? It is the writer's role to actually bring to light pertinent issues that the writer feels passionate about. And it is up to the audience to pick and choose the issues that they feel of interest, that they want to follow up on or further find out about. So it really depends on the audience and what they want to do with that new information. So the stories that you watch are not meant to be didactic. It is not meant to teach with a moral instruction, but it is to create an awareness. So some of you may ask, at which process of the script writing is the Malay language used? Okay, I've broken it up to three stages. The first is proposal writing, which has the concept, approach, characterization, the synopsis. These are mostly written in English. And this document goes to the channel, to our marketing and branding unit, for further approval and further discussions. The treatment, whereby the scenes are being fleshed out, being described further, this is where Malay language is being used. However, specific TV terminologies are still here. This is how treatment looks like. It is rather detailed. It is very visual in description. It is written in Malay with, as I mentioned, specific terminologies in English. And the script carries directions as well as dialogues. And these are written in Malay with, again, specific terminologies in English. Yeah. So I've shown here two examples of script format that we have in Eagle Vision. The one on the left is a format of which is very peculiar to my unit's kind of formatting, script formatting, whereby the direction as well as the dialogues are flashed to the right, leaving an empty space on the left. This is actually, there is a reason behind it, is because historically drama that was recorded, it uses a multi-camera setup and it was recorded in a studio. So this is actually a format of a multi-cam script. On the right is actually the industry screenplay format found in screenwriting softwares like Final Draft and Celtex, which I think most of you are familiar with. So as you can see, the directions and the dialogues are mostly written in Malay. And what does that imply? It actually implies that these TV scripts are actually literary work, and they are on par with prose, short stories, novels. So, and this work has actually can be submitted for National Malay Literary Award. So it just goes to show the presence of screenplay in the Singapore Malay literary landscape. I would like to elaborate further about dialogue, okay, because that's where language is mostly used. So let's zoom in there. The function of language in screenplay, it is actually to convey dialogues, and dialogues, they are not conversation, they are hyper-focused conversation. That means there's a lot that is being packed in a dialogue. It conveys emotion, plot, and action. And because of the limitation of what a 60-minute could entail, that is why it is very, very distilled. So dialogue is what the character says and also what the character doesn't say. That means the subtext, whereby subtext is actually a layer of meaning underneath the dialogue. So, and dialogue is meant to move the story forward. There is what we call paralanguage in dialogue too. It is actually intonation, emphasis on the word and syllable stresses. And what is the type of Malay language that is being used in dialogue? It is actually colloquial, everyday Malay. We do not use standard Malay or Melayu Baku as we call it, because standard Malay is being used in news, current affairs, and info educational programs. It is because it is more of a formal setting. So conversational Malay is what we, how we speak on a day-to-day basis. So it is not bound by the laws of linguistic. There is exclusion of conjunction, so that in a sense, the dialogue it conveys the intent, but it really economizes on the words. So it is very short and straight to the point. In reflecting reality, what is the current usage of language used in Malay dramas? Because drama is a portrayal of life, so the language used needs to also reflect that. So the Malay community uses Malay language as its main communication vehicle. However, now Malays are mostly bilingual. We are fluent in both English and Malay. So, you would see kind of like a balance of both. There is also inclusion of slang and lingo in dialogue. For example, it highlights a certain subculture. For example, anak metropolitan. Let me just show you the video. I will show you the video shortly, but I will just set you up for what you're going to watch. Anak metropolitan is actually about youth gangsterism. There were 3 seasons of it spanning 10 years, and the scene that you be seeing is actually a gang confronting another rival gang member. The words that being used in the dialogues are very peculiar to the gangsterism world. Let's take a look.
Lu tahu kan ni tempat gua? Yang lu suka-suka jual rokok kat customer kita apa hal? Lu kira fermentai.
Gua sudah bilang dengan lu punya budak apa?
Lu jangan cakap longkang ah. Lu ingat, kita orang ni semua tak tahu. Lu mau angkat sendiri kan?
Lu tak percaya, lu tanya lu punya budak lah.
Sudahlah. Kita tak ada masa mau dengar lu punya umur.
So there were words that was used like main tai, which means played us out, cakap longkang, which means to lie or talk nonsense, goyang. These are the phrases that we as writers had to learn and do our research. So it is pretty interesting. There are also dialogues whereby it represents a specific community. For example, Adu Bidikku, whereby it is actually it tells a story about Indonesian FDWs, foreign domestic workers, and also the slang and lingo also captures the period of the story world, which is Bunga Tanjung, which tells the story of dancers in the 60s era. The Malay language used here also, generally portrays the cadence of the language, which is the rhythm and the flow of it. So, however, writers, we do exercise creative license, because what we would term as selective naturalism. This is because to allow our audience to understand the story better. For example, peculiar words used by the Malay Samsings actually originate mostly from Hokkien, but the writers consciously use Malay gangster code words to actually portray the world. For example, baju. Baju means which gang are you from? Kicap means to beat him up. So and also if you use the authentic language, spoken language, for example, to tell the story about the dancer in a nightclub of the 60s era, if you use the authentic language of that era, the younger generation will not be able to understand. So that would inhibit in terms of how relatable your drama could be. So why is it important to write in using the Malay language in screenplays? So Malay language is a communication tool, but more so it is a repository of culture, tradition, societal norms, attitudes, and behavior. And language is such a big part of this. And it makes our multicultural society unique, because the best stories written are the ones that are most personal and most uniquely us. So the advantage also of using your mother tongue in writing your scripts is that it expresses nuance, something that is very subtle and very beautiful in expressing, what the writer's intention is. An example is I would like to share is Bunga Tanjung. It is actually the story of a dancer of a nightclub, and the scene that you will be seeing is about the protagonist, how she expresses her sadness of how women are often taken advantage of by men. What I would like to highlight here is the beauty of using pronouns. In English, we would normally address the person as you or I. You will use I or you. But in Malay, different pronouns exude different nuances. Let's watch the clip. So what I wanted to highlight in the clip that we saw is that, as I mentioned, I and you are different pronouns. In Malay, I could be aku, you could be kau, and or I could be saya, you could be awak. Aku and kau, it reflects closeness. That means the person that you're talking to is somebody that is very familiar. You're very close to the person, that it breaks the ice. It could also imply that the character is less educated. That means he's unrefined. He uses the words, the pronouns aku and kau. It also could express anger. So a character could initially started off with using saya awak, but as his emotions escalate and he gets angrier and angrier, he could switch to aku and kau. So in the use of saya and awak, it would imply respect, like how Mariam addresses her husband. She she uses saya, awak. It is also to show that you are not very familiar with the person that you're talking to. It could be just an acquaintance. It is also to imply that you may be talking to somebody who is more senior or talking to the elders. So it is a more refined translation of I and you. So it just shows the many different nuances of a simple pronoun such as I and you. Yeah. With the dominant use of English language in Singapore, there is an observation that there is attrition of Malay language in TV dramas because of the language shift where the younger demography is more comfortable in using English as the main mode of communication. And with the more prevalent or more pervasive use of English, writers who feel that they are more competent in English, they would use it more prominently in the directions of their screenplay, and only will type the dialogues in Malay. And you would also notice if you watch Malay dramas that there's more prevalent code switching among the characters. And also there, because of the consumption of more English language and foreign language dramas via streaming media, this actually crowds the TV viewing and the choices made by the audience. Between realism and responsibility, this is something, a dilemma that vernacular language drama writer faces. Of late, there is a worrying trend in the bilingual capabilities of Malay children. Because we've talked about Malay language being the communication tool for Malays. So within the span of 10 years, there's almost a 40% increase in the number of young Malays who spoke or speak predominantly English at home. So this is the reality whereby members of the community are more fluent in English. So we are talking about this young group who is currently a percentage of our present target audience, and they will be our target audience for the years to come. So will the Malay language be confined just as an academic subject? Thus, a writer faces this societal tightrope. Realism in one hand and responsibility in another, because content is being created for audience. So if the dramas continue to be mostly in Malay, while the audience capability in understanding the Malay language have greatly reduced, will they be able to understand the drama and relate to it? So, and also stated in previous slides, the scenes portrayed reflect realism. So if members of the community speak more English than Malay, should the characters do more code switching in the dialogues? Yeah. So the reality is that both languages are now interwoven interchangeably in conversations and not treated as two separate entities. However, the responsibility of a writer is that they use the language to actually show that the language can be used rigorously, that it is still relevant and it is still dynamic to portray the character, to portray the premise and the situation. So what I normally practice, and I think I can safely speak for my peers in Eagle Vision is that what we do is we write in complete sentences in one language to reduce free mixing of the words from both languages that may result in deterioration and degeneration of the language. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, vernacular language writers have the task, a task and responsibility ahead of us, whereby we try to balance the following to actually get the best of both worlds, whereby the writer is conscious in that they are a linguistic gatekeeper and continue to use the language. At the same time, they try to balance the authenticity of how the characters converse with each other to reflect realism. And at the same time, they try to help audience in creating content that can be understood by the main target audience. So on a final note, I would say that although our mother tongue is inherent, I think if we don't use it or we on a regular basis, we do not use our native language, we may lose our voice and the beauty of it. So let's embrace the beauty of our mother tongue, of our vernacular language, and make Singapore local content beautiful and great. Yeah. Thank you.